Was goody? Yo, it's been a minute, huh? It's been an extra long minute. But I'm still inspired. I'm still eager to share some knowledge with you guys and just to try and share some wisdom, some wisdom that I've came to come across not recently, but over the years. And this one's something a little different. This is more of spiritual cleanliness, dietary law. And by spiritual cleanliness or spiritual hygiene, I'm talking about matters, energies that pertain to our spiritual well being, that make us more presentable before the Most High. Because just as in the flesh, you practice hygiene, like showering, once or twice daily, wearing clean clothes, doing laundry, staying away from dirty, unhygienic places. That's the same thing that we need to do spiritually, the form of thoughts, in the form of opinions, in the form of energies, who you keep around you, in the form of the things that we eat, because the things that we eat do affect our spirit, you know. A bad diet leads to a bad state of mind. What else? Alcohol, you know, some religious practices, Satanism, that makes you unclean to the Most High. The same way, let me put it like this: the Bible refers to demons sometimes as unclean spirits, impure spirits, foul spirits. And by foul spirits, meaning they smell bad, you know? And it's a bit similar to in the flesh, how when an unclean person or a homeless person smells bad, spiritually you can smell bad too because of those things that I just talked about, you know? So just as you can be unclean in the flesh, you can be unclean in the spirit. And that's what it is, even in your dreams, sometimes you come across a person or something and it smells bad, that's a foul spirit. That's a demon, trying to play tricks on you. And I just want to talk about the dietary aspect of uncleanliness. There's so many other aspects of it, and we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that eventually. But for now, I just want to stick to dietary law. Obviously, if you have your eyes on the screen right now, is this is mostly pertaining to the swine, the eating of pork. You know, as sons of the Most High, as children of the Most High, as Israelites, if you know you're an Israelite or not, or as a human in general, whether you're an Israelite or not, you're not supposed to be eating pork. Just because something can be eaten by the body doesn't mean that you should. You know, pork or the swine is prohibited not only in Islam but also in the scriptures too. In the First Testament, saying, "Do not eat the swine, for it despiseth you." And that sounds poetic, and maybe that goes over some people's heads. That part, it despises you. There is more meaning to that than the shallow surface. It despises you. When God said that, he did not mean, pork literally despises you, or pork does not, like you as a person. By pork despising you, it means that it is not good for your body. It means that there are health disadvantages to consuming pork. It means that when pork is inside your body, it will it will tear you down from the inside out. It will sicken you. It will make you ill. And that's what the Most High meant by it despises you. And we're just gonna get into that in within this video on how or why pork despises you. And this isn't just pork, there are a lot of foods or animals that God said do not eat, like shellfish, for example, which I'm gonna touch a little on throughout the video. What else? Shellfish, carnivores, cats, dogs, wolves, lions, horses, even though they are herbivores, they eat strictly grass, but horses too, if it is if its hooves are not split into two, you do not eat it. And one of the only loopholes or one of the only exceptions to that was the swine, because the swine is splitting into two at its hooves, but still not allowed to eat it. And I'm gonna get into why. All right, so for the most part, from like the macro of things, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know this already, porks are unclean animals. They are dirty animals. They roll around in their dirt. They roll around and play in their own feces and garbage and decaying matter. And that's just point number one. Number two, they do not sweat. And that's one of the things that this article touches on, which I'm going to get into later. They do not sweat, meaning toxins build up within the body, within their cells, within their flesh, within their meat, their fat, especially their fat, because that's where toxins are built up most in, their fat. And so there's this saying that goes, you are what you eat. And in this case, that's literal. You really are what you eat. Like, you literally are what you eat. All those demons, or that uncleanliness that that animal was infested with, you will be infested with as well, because just as it is in that animal's flesh, it will become a part of your flesh, because what the body does is it breaks down that animal's meat, and it uses that as building blocks to build new cells. So all these cells will contain those toxins, that uncleanliness from that animal, which is one of the reasons why you shouldn't eat pork. And now, when you've ingested that animal and it's assimilated to become a part of you, a part of your flesh, your skin, your bones, now all of a sudden you become lazier, or your thoughts become slower, or you notice your eyesight deteriorating, or you notice you start having more dark thoughts, more thoughts that make you more insecure or anxious, That's just one of the few things of how pork can affect you. Another thing, a part of cleanliness, is that pigs eat whatever. They're not strictly herbivores. They eat meat, they eat grass, and they also eat waste and decaying matter. They eat slime, gunk. They eat dead animals. They eat bugs. They eat snakes. They eat garbage. They eat garbage. And like I said before, that garbage becomes a part of them, to their flesh. And when that happens, all of that will become a part of you. And when you eat garbage, when you eat decaying matter, when you eat dead things, when you eat gunk, when you roll around in your feces, you're contaminating yourself, or the animal rather is contaminating itself with viruses, with worms, and with parasites. And those parasites, they can seep through the skin. They can be ingested when the animal eats whatever it eats. Um, they could be drunken through the dirty waters that the animal eats as well. And that parasite, it embeds itself within its intestines, within its fat, within its skin. And a lot of those parasites, viruses, bacteria, they're still there even when the animal is cut and killed. They're still there in the butchery. They're still there in your mom's freezer. They're still there when it's being prepared to be fried or put in the oven or whatever. Those parasites are still there. And that is one of the reasons, one of the main reasons why the swine despises you and why you should not eat pork. So, what I'm trying to say for the most part here is that if you are sincere or genuine in heart in proving yourself or dedicating yourself to the Most High, you have to stop eating pork. You have to stop eating pork. And listen to me, man. I'm not saying that you're a failure if you happen to stumble upon pork once in a while. I'm not gonna lie. There was this one time where I was at a friend's family gathering, and I was eating these sandwiches, and it was only like 15 minutes into it where I think one of them said that they were eating pork, and I never even asked. That's the thing. I assumed it wasn't because it didn't look like pork, and I remember feeling so bad about it. Like, I prayed to the Most High for forgiveness, and it felt like it felt like I had like greatly trespassed. I felt so bad about it. But that's just a part of life. Sometimes you'll make mistakes. Sometimes you will fall. No one can be perfect in this life except Yahweh Shah, his son. So if it does happen that you happen to stumble upon pork, or I don't know, man, like somehow you end up eating it, it's not the end of the world, although you have to do better. You have to assess yourself, look yourself in the mirror, and hold yourself accountable. You have to do better. You have to be able to be courageous enough to say no to your friends and family when they offer you pork. And believe me, listen to me, a lot of them will be offended. A lot of them will rebuke you. A lot of them will dislike you. You know, I was just reading the book of Job, and I forgot what chapter it was, but he said that the righteous man is laughed to scorn. And I felt that. I felt that because a lot of the time the Most High will test you by using your loved ones against you, you know, to assess whether or not you're really for him, you know, especially when it comes to his law. So when your girlfriend or your girlfriend's parents or your friends offer you pork and you're too scared to say no, you have to do it, man. You have to say no. You got to stand for the Most High. And I know it's easier said than done because I myself have fallen to this. You know, I myself have fallen to not want to be rebuked or rejected by friends and loved ones. So I had to compromise on the law that the Most High has placed for us. But I'll tell you what, man. After I realized my mistake, I got back up and I asked the Most High to test me again so that I do better. And I'm not perfect yet, but hey, I'll tell you what, man. I'm getting better as the days go by. I'll tell you that much. I'm getting better as the days go by, and we just got to keep our foot forward and keep moving to the best of our ability. All right, so this article before me right here goes into the ancient knowledge, what people knew about pork hundreds of years ago, and this is really important because we are in as we are in modern times right now. Knowledge from the past is still highly important. It's still more refined because it's closer to the source, you know? Like a lot of the knowledge that we have today has been watered down over the times by, you know, members of society above us who wish to misguide us, you know? Human beings, life, society, people, their habits, their cycles, their routines, it's all the same, you know? It hasn't changed for thousands of years. There's nothing new under the sun. The only difference about modern time is the technology. That's it. Otherwise, everything that's happening today, war, um, women, poverty, prostitution, religious wars, um, declines of society, homosexuality rampaging. That's all happened in the past before. It's not new. It's all happened in the past before, and it's led to the same decline of society. You know, nothing new under the sun. All right, so the article reads, let's talk about the history of this meat. In many ancient and modern religious practices, pork was banned because they were considered unclean animals to eat. In ancient times, it was considered common knowledge from many cultures that eating pork would lead to illness and disease. This uncleanliness could come from many reasons, spanning from the fact that pigs do not sweat, mhm, to the fact that they have a rapid digestive system that leaves many toxins in the body. Now, I already told you I would not be biased in this article. I'm going to talk about opinions on both sides of the industry. This is especially important to consider the source when it comes to the cleanliness of pig meat. If you look at what is being published by pig farmers or investors, they will say things like pigs do not sweat, but they are able to rid themselves of heat in other ways, such as via their skin and through respiration. Because an animal does not sweat does not mean toxins build up in the body. Most pigs are fed highly balanced, nutritionally fortified diets and are kept in climate controlled facilities. If you look at what is being published by health, fitness, science, and medical communities, you will see things suggesting that consuming pork can lead to hepatitis E, multiple sclerosis, liver cancer, cirrhosis, Yersinia worms, parasites, and other issues like heart disease associated with red meat consumption. This is due to many reasons, including the pig's physiology, diet, environment, and more. So you see, these are some of the things that I was talking about: the physiology, the diet, what they eat. They eat garbage. They eat gunk. They eat dead animals sometimes. Um, Environment. They roll around in their own feces. They roll around in garbage and dirt. Even the CDC warns the risk of eating pork being associated with increase in the risk of swine flu if handled properly, if handled improperly, sorry. They do also say that you won't get swine flu from the consumption of properly prepared and handled pig meat. So, if you plan on having pork, at least make sure it was handled and prepared properly. The ancient religious dietary guidelines taught that we should avoid eating pork because the animals were unclean. Conventional modern wisdom argues back and forth. Of course it does. Of course it does. Amen. Modern wisdom will misguide you away from the Most High. Just remember that. Keep that in mind. Especially when you have more than one or the majority of media households, magazine, television, news broadcasters. If most of them are saying the same thing about a particular subject or matter, just know that it is trying to lead you away from truth and your personal well being. Some marketing campaigns have even said the pork is white meat, which would absolve the consumer from the associated risks of eating red meat. Just a reminder, pork was and always has been red meat. And this is just a little consensus of the rate of consumption of pork. And to my surprise, pork is actually the most consumed meat in the world, I believe. And then I believe in America, it's second to chicken, I think. But in the whole world, the rest of the world, pork is the most eaten meat, man. And that just goes to show how far away we are from the Most High. You know? Like how far away the world has strayed from the Most High. Or at least Israelites, you know? And I'm beginning to realize how we are slowly connecting to the end of days because it's these little minute details in society that point to the decline of society, that point to justification to the Most High ending everything. Like relationships, marriages, people don't want to get married anymore, people don't want to have babies anymore, um people don't want to uh, live together anymore. Women are starting to justify being prostitutes. You know, they want to legalize prostitutes as sex work. It's like, why should God carry this on if this is what it is right now? Because if this is what it is right now, what is it going to lead to? how how much worse will it be in 20 years from now? You know, like what is the point of carrying this on? You know, you might as well reset if this is what it's going to be, you know? So that's pretty interesting to know. I'm running out of time for this video, and this is pretty much what I wanted to talk about for dietary law. So I want to remind you guys to keep praying, keep hey man, keep finding the strength in your heart